your partner ghosts you after a conflict, like he just buttons up and shuts down and then later pretends like nothing ever happened? Um, okay, I would say for this one, it depends on what type of conflict we're talking about. Because if it's like something small, something that is like a fluke occurrence, like if we went someplace and my husband's upset because he can't find a parking spot and he's being really nasty or snappy, in that singular moment, and that's not typically his character, that's not a pattern of behavior that I normally see in him, it's because of all of the stress of that singular moment. He's in the pattern now that he would probably apologize for it himself, but if he didn't, I would probably just leave it. Because I'm not going to tackle situations that aren't patterns of behavior. It's not worth it to me. If he's not in a pattern of being snappy with me, then I'm going to give him the grace of that being a one-off and knowing that that's like not his personality, that he wouldn't normally do that to me. And I'm going to give my partner the benefit of the doubt of assuming the best in him, of knowing that his character is better than that, and I'm going to let it go. If it's a pattern of behavior, though, then it's going to need to be addressed. And the reason is that if we don't address the pattern, then it's going to repeat, right? What we allow is what will continue. Things that don't get solved get repeated. History tends to repeat itself, especially if there aren't healthy boundaries in place. So if he tends to ghost you after a conflict, it's probably because going back to like the shame and feeling like a failure, like he doesn't want to deal with this. This is icky. This is not fun. He may not see any productivity in your discussions if arguments tend to lead to like you guys just get into nasty arguments and nothing productive comes from it. Then to him it might just be worthwhile to like get over it and move on. To him maybe it is a small fluke one-off thing and he just doesn't feel like it needs to be addressed. However, most of the time, conflict is like a repeated, perpetual problem. Like 70% or 80% of relationship issues tend to be the same problem that comes up over and over and over and over again, which means that it will continue to come up over and over and over and over again until we address whatever this problem is. So the way I would approach that is outside the moment when he's not mad and he's not upset, I would come back to it later and say like, hey, I know you don't really probably want to talk about this. I don't really want to talk about it either, but I don't want it to keep becoming a problem in our relationship. Is like, if we don't address this specific issue, it's just going to keep coming up. Or this issue does keep coming up, so I think that we just need a different plan so that this doesn't continue to like cause division in our relationship, or so that this doesn't continue to stress you out. This doesn't continue to depress you. This doesn't continue to upset you. Like, we need a new system. We need a new adaptable solution in order for us to not keep encountering this same problem, right? And something that we've talked about, and I'll tell you over and over, is like those solutions are adaptable. So we come up with a plan together because we're partners, and then if that plan doesn't work, or like, it tends to it falls apart and we need to come up with a different plan, then we do. It is also important to recognize that if you're putting a new plan into place, like a new habit, for instance, and it doesn't take right away, that's because it takes time to create those new habits, right? It takes 30 days to rewire the brain, to start rewiring the brain. So we need to give some space for like time for that habit to actually take effect. And there's a whole, again, I could do probably a whole series on like habit forming and how we like get things into place. I'll probably do that in the collaboration section, is how do we actually like get those things to stick. But like we do need to address, if it's a repeated problem, then you're going to need a new system. Pretending like nothing ever happened is him trying to repair the connection. That is him trying to like move on with the relationship. He wants things to be on good ground. So rather than addressing the conflict, which is going to cause division and probably an argument and strife if you don't have the right communication skills, then instead of him addressing it, he would rather just like move on so that you guys are in a good place. so that like it doesn't cause division in the relationship. So from his perspective, he's trying to protect you. That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it productive, because we know that if we don't address it, it's just going to keep coming up, right? But from his perspective, like that just moving on is getting you guys back into a good place. So I would validate that and acknowledge that, like, hey, I want to be, I like that we're in a good place right now. I want us to stay in a good place. I also want this to not keep causing problems for us, this issue to keep causing problems for us. So I have an idea in mind. What do you think of this? And maybe try to approach it that way, where you're coming with a solution instead of expecting for them to come up with the solution with you. It could help to kind of guide that conversation and see what they think, and be open to what they think. Validate what they think, even if they say the color purple is green. Be like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. Okay, tell me why you think purple is green. But that doesn't mean like we're not judging them. We're just observing. We're observing their thought process, right? So maybe approaching them with a solution and seeing how that goes can help. But I would definitely readdress the topic if it's a pattern in your relationship that keeps causing a problem.